Hey buddies, some Spuggy here coming at you another Borderlands 3 video. Today I'm going to be showing you the black market location for this week and every single item that's inside. Once I show you the location, we're going to go over to Sanctuary so we can test every single weapon and see what they can do in depth. So make sure to stick around till then. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch on the top right. You have no idea how much helps me out. And let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
The actual location of this black market machine is going to be on Pandora, and it's actually going to be on the Cathedral of Twin Gods. Now, there's only one fast travel location you can actually fast travel to. I'm already here, and the area that you need to go to is actually pretty elusive. If you guys are aware, if you guys have been trying to search for this information all day, it has been eluding people for like the entire day. Normally people find it within like 2 hours. But I don't blame them for not finding it because the actual location is very hard to get to. Or I shouldn't necessarily say it's hard to get to, but it's not a place I honestly even knew existed. I don't know. I just never go here. So it's actually pretty close. It's only going to take you about 15 seconds to get to. Now, normally there's planks right here, 1, 2, and I already broke them with a melee, but actually when you go in here, there's a dead claptrap unit, as you guys might already know, but I never go in here besides for just that. But if you go down here, there's a chest, and if you look to the right, here's the actual black market location, and it's in a really hard location. I honestly would have never thought to look here. So it's crazy that someone found this, but big kudos to the person who found it first. And let me actually show you where to go to on the map here. So it's just going to be right here, and I'm going to zoom out all the way. For those of you who don't know where this is, it's just right there. And then the actual items in the machine is the Scoville. I think that's how you say it. It's a certain word to describe the heat level of certain peppers and stuff. But this is a certain weapon that is very hard to obtain. You can only get it once each playthrough, and it's with a certain reward. So this is very valuable to pick up, even if you aren't going to use it, which I think you should because it's really powerful. Definitely pick it up just because of how hard it is to get. So there's the Scoville, the 10 gallon, which isn't that great of a TDR. I think it's pretty bad. And then finally we had the Widowmaker. The Widowmaker is pretty interesting. It can have a Merv Widowmaker, which deals lots of damage early game, but late game it does not deal like any good damage at all. But let's head over to Sanctuary so we can actually test these weapons. So first things first, let's talk about the most interesting weapon on here is the Scoville. Now the Scoville is a very, very cool weapon. It is able to only spawn in fire or kinetic, which is interesting. I can spawn a kinetic. I would think it would only be fire, but it can have list projectiles of 1 to 2, and it can come in splash anointments, which I have right here. The max damage I can get it in is going to be to 58k with ×2, and the actual way that you can get it is by destroying all the hot sauce bottles in the DLC 1 Moxie's Heist of Handsome Jackpot, and it comes into your mail after you destroy all the hot sauces, and you can only get 1 with each playthrough. So this is very worth picking up in case you didn't get a perfect one. Pretty much what it does is when you shoot it, you'll notice that it actually shoots hot sauce bottles, which is very, very cool. And another remarkable part about this is when you send it out, it does large splash damage and radius. So most people have used it in the past or in Borderlands history to use it with Zane because of duct tape mod, so he doesn't take self damage, but I'm using with Moze just because she's my jam. It does lots of splash damage, so it does lots and lots of damage for Moze, and you can see the radius gets really, really huge sometimes. We're gonna go over to Grave Ward after we showcase all the other weapons, just to show how much damage this can do, because it does a lot of damage. It's honestly pretty remarkable. It's a really fun gun. I don't hear people talk about it at all, probably because of how hard it is to get, but it can deal really good damage really, really quickly. Next weapon is going to be the 10 gallon. Now the 10 gallon is a very interesting gun. It can spawn in every single element except for radiation. For some reason, they excluded radiation from this weapon, which is very peculiar. So it has kinetic, fire, shock, corrosive, and cryo. Now cryo is going to be max damage 32k, while fire and the rest are going to be around 30k. It can spawn with splash anointments. It is a TDR. But the only interesting thing about that is that when you send out the TDR, it hovers above you and doesn't actually really do any splash damage, which is big unfortunate. And the bullets themselves don't deal any splash damage. So you saw right there, I did an 82k damage right there. I'm going to remove everything that's action skill N real quick. Off my character, I'm going to enter exit Iron Bear real quick, and we'll see the damage didn't get exponentially larger at all, which is big unfortunate. So the gun itself doesn't deal splash damage. The only time it's going to deal splash damage is if you do, maybe like on Moze, you use short fuse, and the actual hovering reload of the 10-gallon doesn't deal any splash damage. When the turret magazine empties, it's going to just stop shooting and just doesn't explode. It just despawns. It doesn't really do much else. Unfortunately, you can only have one of these active at one time, and every single time you reload, it will just put the magazine into the actual floating drone flying around you. So unfortunately, it doesn't really do much. You just reloading additionally will just replenish the actual flying turret you have, and the flying turret doesn't really do like much damage at all. Most of the time, I deal more damage by just shooting normally, but it can spawn and splash in case you want to do some short fuse stuff. But it's not really worth picking up. It's not really that great. And then finally, we have the Merv Widowmaker. Now, the Merv Widowmaker has been very infamous in a lot of my streams. It's shown up a lot when I do challenge runs for some reason on my Twitch channel, and I'm really blessed to get it when I do, because most of the time it's around the time when it's early game and it's very useful. And one more thing I didn't mention, with the 10-gallon, you can switch to other weapons and you'll still have it floating around, which is nice, and it still floats around and fight for your life. But pretty much I'm gonna have to go to the field to try this one out. But pretty much what you do when you send it out, it launches a bunch of Mervs, and then they launch up into the air and then home in on any target that comes around it. So it's like a bunch of proxies, and they just do lots of missiles. Like you can't really see it in Sanctuary because the ceiling's too low, but let's go over to the field so you can actually see it. And I think earlier I mentioned that when the 10-gallon's done and expires, it doesn't explode, but I had it explode next to me in Sanctuary, so I'm not sure 100% how valid that is. I'm not sure if it's because it expired and didn't necessarily run out of magazine and exploded that way. I'm not 100% certain, but we can test it here just because we have it. Why not? So I'm just going to get one bullet in the magazine on the actual turret. So when it shoots, it's going to lose out of its actual magazine real quick, and we can see whether or not it explodes or not, just because we have some conflicting information. So there, it did its final magazine and it doesn't explode. Okay, so it explodes. No, it just disappears. So if it expires without depleting all its magazine, it explodes near you. But that's not really helpful, so we have that confirmed now. But let's actually use the Merv Widowmaker. So I'm just going to send it out over there, and you'll see that it put a bunch of proximity mines around this enemies, and then it's eventually going to launch up and then go to the area that it just homes on very, very good. You know, I just said it homes really good, but didn't home good there. But normally it homes directly towards the enemy, as you saw, like right here. You'll see them all go into that one enemy and destroy that enemy. Keep in mind, I am Moze. I am using Minesweeper, so a lot of the damage was Moze shenanigans and not necessarily the Merv Widowmaker. So don't be mistaken and think that the Merv Widowmaker is actually secretly really good just because that demonstration was really good. And I forgot to mention, the Merv Widowmaker can spawn in kinetic, radiation, fire, shock, corrosive, and cryo. It's a really fun weapon to mess around with. If you get it early game, definitely get it. If you're playing a new game character and you're at the Cathedral of Twin Gods and you see a Merv Widowmaker, I would definitely just pick it up, because why not? But late game, it doesn't really do much. You'd have to send out a lot of grenades for it to really clear anything. And like I sent out like a bunch of grenades right there and didn't really kill anybody, which is big unfortunate. So here we have a bunch out. Let's see if it kills anybody. I think it killed someone like all the way over there, but it's not really worth the amount of ammo it takes to actually send it out, because like one grenade is a lot of ammo, honestly. But let's head over to Grave Ward so we can actually see the damage in action of the Scoville. All right, I'm going to do the same setup I normally do. I'm going to enter exit Iron Bear, put some debuff missiles on the actual boss. I'm going to activate Element Projector on myself, and then we're just going to lace into Grave Ward right here. You see that I did lots and lots of damage. Unfortunately, there is a projectile and trajectory to actually hit Grave Ward, so I wasn't able to hit his arm after he started recoiling, but as you saw right there, it killed him very, very fast. So definitely pick up this weapon. It's very, very fun, and is a lot easier to get now than it normally is, because finding all the hot sauce bottles is honestly a big pain, in my personal opinion. Maybe you guys have a better chance of getting it, and look how cool the gun is. It's like, you gotta admit, it's a cool gun, even if you're not gonna use it. It's nice to have in your collection at the very least. And as always, a big shout out to the members who make these possible. We have Jace Noodles, Clairvoyant, 31 Bar 70, and Rick and Grace Yes. These are the members who support me as little as $5 a month, and you can also support me as little as $5 a month by becoming a member by clicking the link in the top right or the comments in the description. The more members we have means the closer I get to becoming full-time, which means more videos for you guys. So if you can support me, please do. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him out with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.